Hello, so today we're going to discuss factoring. It's going to be day 3 of factoring. So we're going to start with a little quadratic formula like we always do, then we'll transition into the new material. So I have a quadratic function here, or equation, and I need to get all the terms over to one side before you can begin. So I'm going to subtract the 3x. I'm going to subtract the 1. Everything over to the left-hand side. That's going to give me an x squared minus 8x plus 3 equals 0. Okay, and then once you do that, I now know a is 1, b is a negative 8, and c is 3. So I'm going to substitute those values into my quadratic formula. So I know x is equal to the opposite of b, which would be a positive 8, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times my a. Okay, so now I want to try to reduce the inside of that radical. So I'm going to put the inside of that into my calculator. And if I do that, I get something like 52 all over 2. So if you get to this point, if you can get to that square root of 52, that is worth a point. Now, the second point is we are going to reduce the square root of 52, or we're going to try to at least. So if I break this down, this is 2 times 26, or 2 times, 26 is 2 times 13. And I don't think you can break down 13 anymore. So I have 2 2's. I have a 13, or I have 2 square root 13. So I would now write my answer as 8 plus or minus 2 square roots of 13 all over 2. Okay, and then to get the full credit, we want to write our answer as 2 fractions. 8 over 2 plus or minus 2 square root 13 over 2. We can reduce those fractions. 8 over 2 is just 4. Plus or minus 2 over 2 is just 1 square root 13. Again, if you didn't reduce the fractions, you'd still get full credit. I just want to let you know that you can reduce those fractions if you need to. Okay. All right, so on to factoring. So what I have here is I have a quadratic, and we want to break this down into our 2 groups. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to break this down, all right, into a product of 2 binomials. All right. Now, I know that the first term in each binomial has to multiply. So the first term in this group and the first term in this group has to give me the first term. So if I have a 2x squared, I am always going to break that up into a 2x times x. Okay, so that is like my guarantee. So that's always the first step. I need to write the first term in each grouping. 2x squared is going to break down into 2x and x. So the next thing I need to do is I need to write out all the possibilities for 9. So all the different factors. So off to the side here, I want to write out all the factor pairs for -9. So I can do 1 and -9. I can do -9 and 1. Remember, order matters. I can do 3 and -3, or I can do -3 and 3, right? You can flip the negative around. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to try these one by one until we figure out which is the right one. Okay, so I'm just going to start at the top. You do not need to go in any order, so you can pick any factor pair you think works. But I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to say, okay, 2x, and I'm going to say with the first factor pair, so I'm using the 1 and the -9, so then it would be x minus 9. And if I distribute, 2x times x is a 2x squared. 2x times a -9, oops, is going to be a negative 18x, and then 1 times x is a 1x, and 1 times a negative 9 is a negative 9. And I'm starting to look at this. Negative 18 plus 1 is a negative 17x minus 9. That did not give me the original problem. I got the 2x squared in the front. I got the negative 9 at the end, but I got a different number in the middle. So ultimately, what I need to do is I need to cross this one off, and I'm going to try my next one. Okay, so let's try 2x minus 9 and an x plus 1, right? So if I flip-flop the 9 and the 1 around, does it work? So 2x times x is a 2x squared. 2x times 1 is 2x. Negative 9 times x is a negative 9x. And negative 9 times 1 is a negative 9. If I combine those terms in the middle, that gives me a negative 6x. I'm sorry, 7x. And that, again, does not work. Okay, so we tried 2 of these, and 2 of these did not work. So we know it's got to be one of the last 2. So I'm going to try 2x plus 3, x minus 3. So 2x times x is a 2x squared. 2x times a negative 3 is a negative 6. I don't know why I wrote a 3. 2x times negative 3 is a negative 6x. 3 times x is a 3x, and 3 times negative 3 is a negative 9. So if I combine my like terms, I get a negative 3x minus 9. That does match, so I do know my answer has to be 2x plus 3, x minus 3. That is my factored form. Okay, so this is the process of factoring. So my answer are the groups 2x plus 3, x minus 3. All right, I have a bunch of these examples. We'll do them one by one. So again, I have a new problem here, the 3x squared plus 11x plus 6. So I'm going to break this apart, and I'm always going to start with kind of my guarantees. So 3x squared can be broken down into 3x and x. So now I need to list out all the possibilities for 6. So 1 and 6, 6 and 1. 2 and 3, 3 and 2. Right? So if I multiply any of those factor pairs together, that gives me 6. And there are no other factor pairs for 6. Those are the only combinations. So I know it's got to be one of those choices to finish off my problem. I just got to figure out which one. So I'm going to start with the first one. I'm going to say 3x plus 1, x plus 6. So if I distribute, 3x times x is a 3x squared. 3x times 6 is an 18x. 1 times x is a 1x, and 1 times 6 is a 6. If I combine like terms, I get a 19x in the middle. That did not work because I want an 11x in the middle, so I cross this one off. So I'm going to try the next one here. I'm going to say, well, I'm going to cross that off the list. I'm going to do now 3x plus 6, x plus 1. 3x times x is a 3x squared. 3x times 1 is a 3x. 6 times x is a 6x, and 6 times 1 is a 6. If you combine terms in the middle, that gives me a 9x. That is not what I wanted. I wanted an 11, so I cross that next one off, and I keep going. So I want to figure out which one is going to be the correct set of numbers here. So 3x plus 2, x plus 3. So I'm trying the 2 and the 3 now. Okay, so 3x times x is a 3x squared. 3x times 3 is a 9x. 2 times x is a 2x, and 2 times 3 is a 6. So I get a 3x squared plus 11x plus 6. That is what I want. So I'm going to say 3x plus 2 and x plus 3. That is my factored form. Okay? So, again, with a new example, feel free to pause, rewind, fast forward, whatever you need. Okay? If you want to pause this one and try and do it on your own, you can. All right? I'm going to do it along with you otherwise. So, I'm going to make my groups. All right? 2x and x gives me a 2x squared. Then I want to write out my possibilities. For negative 20. So I can do 1 and negative 20, negative 20 and 1. 2 and negative 10, negative 10 and 2. 4 and negative 5, negative 5 and 4. So I know it's got to be one of these options. I just have to figure out which one. So I have 6 choices. So hopefully I can figure out which is the right one quick. Now, I'm looking at those 20s, and those are looking like pretty large numbers. So I'm going to start down here because I think those will be a little better. I want to figure out which one of those works. I can always go back up to the ones at the top, but I think those are going to be a little too big. Oh, sorry about that, guys. So let's try this 2 and negative 10. So I can have 2x plus 2, x minus 10. If I distribute, 2x times x is a 2x squared. 2x times a negative 10 is a negative 20x. 2 times x is a 2x, and 2 times a negative 10 is a negative 20. So I get 2x squared minus 18x minus 20. That does not match. I wanted a 3 in the middle. I got an 18. So that was not the right answer. So let's try the next one. So I'm going to say this time a 2x minus 10, x plus 2. Let's try that one. 2x times x is a 2x squared. 2x times 2 is a 4x. Negative 10 times x is a negative 10x, and negative 10 times 2 is a negative 20. I then get a negative 6 in the middle. Again, that is not what I want. Cross that one off the list. So let's keep going here. Third option, 2x plus 4, x minus 5. Okay, 2x times x is a 2x squared. 2x times a negative 5 is a negative 10x. 4 times x is a 4x, and 4 times negative 5 is a negative 20. I get a 2x squared minus 6x minus 20. Getting closer, but ultimately didn't quite work out for me. Okay, no go. All right, I'm going to erase my first one to give myself some room. All right, and we're going to try negative 5 and 4. See if that one works. Otherwise, I got to go back up to the top. So if I try negative 5 and 4, I'm going to have a 2x minus 5, x plus 4. So if I do that, 2x times 4, I'm sorry, 2x times x is a 2x squared. 2x times 4 is an 8x. Negative 5 times x is a negative 5x. And negative 5 times 4 is a negative 20. So if I combine my like terms, I know 8x minus 5x is going to be a 3x minus 20. Now, this is very good. Look, okay, if you take a look at this, it's not exactly the same, but I have the right number, just the wrong sign. So we did everything right. We know the numbers have to be 5 and 4 in those locations, but I need to flip them around. So this was a minus and this was a plus. I want the other sign. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change those, and I'm going to say plus 5 minus 4, okay? And I want to check that. I always like to double check. I know it takes time and it's up to you, but I always like to double check. And I'm going to see if this does work out. So we got the right numbers, but I just needed to flip those signs. So 2x times x is a 2x squared. 2x times a negative 4 is a negative 8x. 5 times x is a 5x. and 5 times negative 4 is a negative 20. If you combine like terms, you got it, right? So this is my answer. 2x plus 5, x minus 4. Okay? Factored. Oh, let me refresh the page real quick. All right, so I got the next one here. So if I break this one down, okay, x squared breaks down to x times x will give you x squared. Okay, but now I need to list out the possibilities, right? What are the possibilities for 16? So I can do 1 and 16, 16 and 1, 2 and 8, 8 and 2. I can do 4 and 4, and if you flip-flop those around, it's still 4 and 4, right? Now, I did make one little typo here, okay? This should be a minus 16. I apologize, all right? This should be a minus 16. So I'm going to say 1 and negative 16 and 1. 2 and negative 8 and 2. 4 and negative 4. And I can flip that around, right? Get negative 4 and 4. So we need to figure out which one of these possibilities is the right one. So we are going to just trial and error. We're going to check them one by one. So I can start at the top. I'm a little worried about that 16 though. I think it's going to be too big, but we'll see. So I did a plus 1 and a minus 16. X times x is x squared. X times a negative 16 is a negative 16x. 1 times x is a 1x, and 1 times a negative 16 is a negative 16. If you combine your like terms, okay, I get x squared minus 15x minus 16. That does not match, so we need to go to the next option here. So I'm going to say x this time. I still have my minus 16, but first, x plus 1. X times x is x squared. Okay, then I have 1x, then I have a negative 16x, then I have a negative 16. If I combine my like terms and check it, still did not work. I'm trying to get a 6 in the middle, and I keep getting a 15. So I know these first two didn't work. So let's try the third one. If I have x plus 2, x minus 8, x times x is x squared, minus 8x, plus 2x, minus 16. If you combine your like terms, I get a negative 6 in the middle. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my answer. So I want to know, my answer is x plus 2, x minus 8. That is my factored form. Okay? I'm going to do one last one. Okay? So follow along with me. Feel free to pause if you want to try to do it on your own. I'm going to start with my guarantees. I know 5x can be broke, or 5x squared can be broken to 5x and x. And then I want to list out my possibilities for negative 8. So I can say 1 and negative 8, negative 8 and 1, 2 and negative 4, negative 4 and 2. And I think those are all the possibilities for negative 8. So now I want to check them. I want to see which one's going to be the right one. So I'm going to start at the top. Okay, I'm going to have a 5x plus 1, x minus 8. 5 times x is 5x squared. 5 times negative 8 is a negative 40x. 1 times x is a 1x, and 1 times a negative 8 is a negative 8. If you combine like terms here, you can see I got a 39. That's way too big. Okay, we're going to cross that one off the list. So let's try the next one. So I'm going to do a 5x minus 8, x plus 1. Let's try this. 5x times x is a 5x squared. 5x times 1 is a 5x. Negative 8 times x is a negative 8x. And negative 8 times 1 is a negative 8. If you combine like terms, okay, I get a negative 3x in the middle, okay, and I check. Now, again, we did this once before. I have the right number. Okay, I got a 3. The only problem is I got a -3 and it should be a +3. But that tells me we have the right numbers. I know that this should be an 8. I know that this should be a 1. But I don't want it to be -8 and +1. I'm going to change those signs to be the opposite, and that will give me the opposite in the middle. So I want to check that now. Okay, so I want to check this. All right, so I'm going to erase just to give myself some room. And if I check it, 5x times x is a 5x squared. And then 5x times a -1 is a -5x. 8 times x is an 8x. And 8 times a -1 is a -8. If you combine your like terms, I get a 3x minus 8. I know that is the correct factored form. Okay? All right. Hopefully that helped with factoring today. I will do more in class, but you guys can use this video as a little reference, a little tool to help you out. Have a good day.